This is breaking news from the KCAL studios. I'm Mike Rogers. SkyCal over a CHP pursuit of a stolen vehicle. Right now, we are in the South Bay area, just off the 405. You can see it on your screen here. It's this white Ford van that CHP is chasing. Now, what we know so far is it started in the downtown area, got south on the 110 freeway, got onto the 405 north, then got off on surface streets. CHP has been chasing this for the better part of probably about 20 minutes or so. CHP has been the only agency pursuing this van the whole time. Now, it's not clear the exact circumstances on when it was taken, how it was taken, nothing like that. We are still working with the CHP to get that information. But as SkyCal kind of zooms out, you see the CHP officers right on his tail there as we're going through some of these intersections. Busy afternoon on a Friday. We have lots of people on the road. Not a very high speed chase, which is good, but you see some pedestrians right there in this crosswalk as the van kind of slows down behind that tree right there, but back through. So at least it looks like he might be kind of at least stopping for some of these pedestrians, or at least mindful of them. We've been basically following the traffic laws. As you can see here, we're not going terribly fast during this pursuit, but still CHP right behind him, hot on his tail here. We're now in the Hermosa Beach area. We just got off the 405. He was on the 405 for a long time after the 110, and he's just been kind of going on surface streets. It's unclear right now how many people are inside the van. That's also going to be a problem for the CHP officers here, is they can't see in. You have these types of vans that don't have a lot of windows on the side, so hopefully they're able to see through the back window there, maybe see if there's anybody in the back or tell how many occupants are in there. Generally, these type of vans, these economy or these Ecoline vans, usually only have a driver and a passenger seat. So hopefully at most there are only two people in here, but you know, CHP has been chasing this for a decent amount of time here. Started up kind of near the downtown LA area. CHP has their helicopter on it. They got on it pretty quickly. They got involved right near the 110 and the 105. So the CHP helicopter's been with this for a while. We're going westbound now towards the beach here, kind of straddling the Manhattan Beach, Manhattan Beach, Redondo Beach city lines here. So CHP is just kind of giving this guy the time that he needs. There's been no real aggressive movements from pretty much anybody. We haven't seen the driver do anything too crazy. We also haven't seen CHP attempt to, you know, do anything to bring this to an end either. As SkyCal kind of zooms out there, you can see you've got those two units right behind him. He obviously knows that he's being chased. They've got lights and sirens on. They have had them on for the duration of this chase. CHP, has not been interested in giving it up once they get off of the freeway. We have seen that before, where CHP sometimes will try to get one of the local agencies, which city they're in, to take over the chase. We've not heard any mention of that right now, but as he approaches some of this traffic, when we get closer to the beach here, you can see he's just kind of complying with the traffic laws. He's really not doing anything that's giving CHP a ton of concern here. Just the fact that he's not stopping or pulling over, he's just refusing to do that. But still, slow speeds here, nothing very wild that we've seen the whole time. We haven't heard of anything wild. Again, appears to be kind of abiding by traffic laws here as we get stuck at an intersection. He's not really doing anything, maybe going around this car now, but CHP still says this vehicle is stolen. This van here, they're trying to get it to pull over and stop. As we go through that intersection, I think that's probably one of the first intersections I've seen him do that through. Generally, he's been stopping and waiting for those intersections to turn green. Didn't really appear that he did that time, but we are still on Artesia Boulevard here, I believe, coming closer to the beach here, closer to the coast. On this Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This is the time of day when traffic really starts to kind of get heavy as people are getting off work, maybe going out of town for the weekend. It's a nice day out, could be going to the beach. So lots of things that we could run into here, but the good news is we're not really seeing any kind of crazy driving. CHP probably not going to attempt a pit maneuver. There's a couple of reasons for that. It's busy. There are pedestrians. There are other drivers out here. The other thing is we're dealing with a van that is a little bit more top heavy. So that could also, cause some concern for them. You certainly wouldn't want that van to roll if it were to be pitted by the CHP officers there. So right now they're just waiting it out and trying to see if this guy is going to pull over eventually for them. So far that has not happened. So we're just going to continue to watch this As we go through the afternoon here, 3:08 p.m. in the afternoon. This is breaking news from KCAL News. We're following this CHP pursuit of a stolen vehicle. Amy Johnson's joining me now at the desk. Amy, we've just been kind of watching this. It's nerve-wracking. You do see some school kids there on this Friday afternoon.
It is always nerve-wracking to watch this kind of pursuit. It seems like this driver is following most of the rules of the road, but you just never know what could change their behavior and make them decide to pick up the pace or do something a little more erratic. And, you know, it's always dangerous for people that are out and about, as you were talking, Mike, on a Friday afternoon, just running errands, doing whatever they may be doing, and completely unaware that someone is coming up behind them that is desperate to get away from officers. And this is always, you know, a time where you just don't want to feel too comfortable because you just never know what might happen.
Right, and especially, you know, we're kind of getting off the freeway here, so not that CHP is unfamiliar with the area, but it's certainly not the freeways that they're most commonly used to. One of my coworkers here on the desk was telling me that the suspect did go the wrong way on one of the streets for a little bit. So it seems like we're not doing that now. That's kind of changed, so that's the good news. But apparently at one point in time during the chase, before we got overhead, he was going the wrong way on Kingsdale, is what I'm being told by one of my colleagues, Amy. And
again, it is just, you never know, Mike, what might happen and when someone is desperately trying to get away from officers. And we often talk about the difference between a pursuit on surface streets and a pursuit on a highway where everyone's heading in the same direction. Speeds are relatively fast. People kind of know what they're up against. But on a side street like this, any streets where you might find pedestrians walking around, cars stopping, turning, and, you know, just completely unaware that something like this might be happening. It certainly adds more of a danger in the situation. But it is interesting to watch this person who is refusing to stop, yet they are following most of the rules of the road. Now we're watching kind of an unusual turn here, but still this driver stopped, still not appearing to go very fast.
Right, and you know, there's a good point, Amy, about, you know, when we're on the freeway, it's a little bit of a controlled environment. It's a give and take because the speeds are a little faster, so that, of course, makes everyone nervous, but at least everyone's going the right way. There's no pedestrians. You're not blowing through stoplights. When you get onto surface streets here, the only thankful thing in this situation is that he is going at the slower speeds. He's not, you know, barreling through these intersections at, you know, 50, 60 miles an hour. So that is the positive here. Now, Amy, I think he just made that U-turn because he was almost out of road, really, because we're right almost along the beach. He was kind of approaching Ardmore Avenue, and if you get any further than that, you're right at the water there. So I think that's probably why he turned. I think he's going south now through Hermosa Beach. And again, I was mentioning this earlier, but, you know, a Friday afternoon, it's the summer, it's hot outside, we're really close to the beach. It always kind of makes you nervous when you're in an area where you know there are probably going to be a lot of people.
And in a van like this, you just don't know who might be in the van with this driver, if there's anyone in the back, what else might be in that van, and really what they are willing to do just to get away from officers. And of course, officers have to treat this this van, as if there are other people in it. They have to assume that they could be dangerous, could be armed. You just never know. So they are definitely following this van with a lot of caution and, you know, but also keeping very close with this van, not letting it get too far ahead of them because those speeds are slower. Now, we have all seen when the cars or the vans pick up the pace and they start going very fast, a lot of times the officers slow down, giving them a little bit more distance, hoping that it will slow them down. But in this case, there's really no need to give this driver any more distance because they're going relatively slow.
Yeah, and it always kind of makes you wondering, and I think if I'm looking at it right, it looks like he may even have his hazards lights on. So it's not, you know, who knows what this guy's thinking, or, you know, it's always a mystery as to why anybody really runs from the police, especially in a situation like this where you're obviously not going to get away. I've seen there's 3 CHP cruisers, even a motorcycle officer back there, plus CHP's helicopter. So they've got this covered. This guy's not going to get away, or this person rather is not going to get away. But Amy, to your point about not knowing how many people are in the vehicle, kind of when SkyCal was able to get a little tighter on the van there, it's, you know, Desmond Shaw, who's usually up in SkyCal, kind of calls it the pursuit tint package.
Yes.
And it always seems like these vehicles that are being chased have these dark windows, and you can kind of see that there. So it's, you know, who knows if that officer right behind him is actually able to see in the back window to see if anybody is in there. I was mentioning earlier that usually these utility vans usually only have the driver's seat and the front passenger seat. So best case scenario is just the driver or maybe another person. Hopefully there's not a van full of people in there or, some other nefarious thing going on there. But we're just kind of going slow, Amy. We're still in Hermosa Beach. We're kind of traveling, I think, southbound, but we were kind of bordering the Redondo Beach line. Now we're more center into Hermosa Beach now as he stops at this light kind of blocked by the tree there. And again, look at that, Amy. There's a kid on a bike right there.
Yep.
Luckily he's stopping for those kinds of things, but it always makes you nervous.
It really does. And, it almost seems like this driver is not quite going the speed limit, as if they're going slower than what is actually posted on the stretch of roadway. But certainly you see those workers there on the roof. They're looking down. Apparently they are looking to see why the lights and sirens are on those cars. But certainly the best case scenario right now is that this driver is going slow. Does appear to be following the rules of the road, but you have to wonder if and when these officers are going to take advantage of this slower pace and attempt a pit maneuver or attempt spike strips. This is one of those situations where the roadways are somewhat empty enough that they might be able to attempt that, but again, you just never know what they are planning.
Right, and no, I don't want to give anything tactical away, but I can tell you the CHP is formulating a plan to try to do something to bring this to an end. But and then they've got the time. I mean, this guy's not made a ton of wild turns. It's not like he's terribly unpredictable about what he's doing. He's stopping at the red lights. They don't have a lot of questions about what he's doing here. We're stopped now, and I can't even tell if he's got the green light and he's just stopped at the intersection there, or if he has stopped at a red light. Okay, now we're pushing through the intersection there.
Yes, and we do know, people at home might be watching, wondering, well, why didn't they just block him in? And, tactically, they just can't do that at this point. It is dangerous when you don't know what this person is capable of. You don't know if they have a weapon. And these CHP officers are certainly following protocol. They're doing what they need to do to make sure that they end this pursuit safely more than anything. And, because this driver is going relatively slow, they don't have as much of a concern about the dangers on the road as they would be if this driver was flying through those red lights, speeding on the wrong side of the road. But for now, they can just kind of take their time.
Right. And Amy, you talked about not knowing if the driver's armed or not. And again, because of the type of van that he's in, we also don't know what might be in the back of the van either. That could also be concerning to officers. Now, we are southbound PCH, and we just crossed into Redondo Beach. So now we're kind of making our way through the next South Bay city. We were kind of bordering Manhattan Beach, Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach. Now we're back into Redondo Beach, southbound on PCH. The harbor, King Harbor Marina, is just going to be off to the right side of the van there as we travel southbound here. So, making some progress throughout the city. This started in downtown LA. CHP picked it up, and it was just a stolen vehicle. We believe that they just ran the plate. The plate came back stolen, and they've been chasing it. We're still trying to get information on when it was stolen, where, what dynamics of how the theft occurred. That can also, Amy, play a role in what CHP does here. If they have reason to believe this vehicle was taken by force or, by an armed person, then they're going to change their game plan a little bit and not be as aggressive. If this was something as simple as, hey, somebody left their car running and somebody jumped in the front seat, they may change the way they're handling things. So it just depends. There's a lot of things the officers know that we don't know that could also be kind of dictating what they're doing. And we are also getting some information that we believe this is a man who may be in his 20s to 30s. So that's really all we know about the driver. That's all CHP really probably knows about the driver as well. In a regular situation, you can run the plate, figure out who the registered owner is, where they live, and all that information. In a stolen vehicle, you can't do that because obviously it's not his vehicle. So whoever the vehicle is registered to is not going to be him.
Mike, I have to say, in watching this, I'm really pleasantly surprised at the lack of cars on this stretch of roadway at 3:17 on a Friday afternoon. Living here in the Southland, we both know that typically on a Friday afternoon, traffic is, picking up pretty much everywhere, but
I don't ever get this lucky when I go to Redondo Beach.
Exactly.
I mean, it's good because we're not putting innocent people in harm's way here. But yeah, it is kind of remarkable that on a summer afternoon and a Friday it's this quiet. But yeah, still plugging along. Southbound PCH here, I believe, coming up on Diamond Street now.
And Mike, I know that Sky Cal's been trying to zoom in and get a better look inside that van. You've got a little bit of a different vantage point over there where you are. Were you able to see this driver at all?
I got a quick glimpse. I couldn't really make out any of the features of the driver. I don't believe there's anybody in the passenger seat, though. I was able to see in the van a little bit. It looks like there's some stuff maybe in the passenger seat, but I didn't see a second person. And, you know, sometimes we see these people when they're in the van here or in these cars kind of acting erratically. I didn't see that either. I didn't see any arms flailing around, nothing like that. So it looks like a person who's just driving, you know, and I mean, he's following all the speed limits. You know, the windows are kind of tinted there, but he's got both hands on the wheel and he's just making his turns and, you know, kind of driving. Even the turn signal's on there, Amy, like, you know, as we pass the Salvation Army there on Catalina Avenue from PCH.
Yes, and you know, I wish that this is obviously we're seeing the speed limit sign there, 30 miles an hour. It seems like this van is not even going close to 30 miles an hour, you know, and doesn't seem to be desperate to get around cars like we often see. The driver in this van stopping, waiting until lights turn green, waiting behind other cars. And now we're seeing, just as I say that, this driver now going around this other SUV here. But I have to say I'm a little surprised that we have not seen a spike strip out yet.
Yeah, and I am too. And, you know, also to your point, now we're kind of getting to a parking lot. It looks like there might be a little car show there. He's southbound on Harbor Drive. So as SkyCal, I'm going to ask SkyCal to just pull out just a little bit. I don't want to lose the van, but you'll see the marina is actually right here. He is right up against the ocean here. So, you know, we're kind of running out of real estate if he keeps going this way. He's going to have to, you know, kind of turn back east to get some more road here. But it doesn't seem he's a problem. You know, it's interesting. It's almost like he's like doesn't see the cops or doesn't notice, you know what I mean? Like he's just out for his drive. He's just doing what he's doing. You know, he's putting his turn signals on. He's stopping at the red lights. He's, you know, California stopping at the stop signs. You know, it's almost like he doesn't even realize that anybody's behind him trying to get him to stop, which obviously they are. You know, you saw that group of kids on the bike. Everyone's taking pictures. We saw those construction workers up there on the roof even watching him. So it's interesting. And now he's at the point of Harbor Drive where it's going to kind of loop back north and he's going to come back out on Catalina Avenue here, which is going to be right back kind of the way that he started. He came here, just making that loop.
Oftentimes we see that these drivers just kind of do a circle, kind of stay in a very familiar area, although this started in downtown. So you just don't know if this person is a little more familiar with this area or just really just trying to map out a plan. Now we see one of these cruisers here. It looks like they're just trying to stop traffic, but we would hope that there was a spike strip or something out there, but again, it does not appear.
And Amy, those are different police cars. That looks like it was Redondo Beach PD that was blocking that intersection. So CHP, and just, you know, if we haven't talked about this before, CHP is an agency where it is all theirs or nothing. CHP, they're not big sharers. They don't share pursuits. And that's for a number of different reasons, mostly because when you have one agency, whoever's in charge, the sergeant, the lieutenant, whoever's in charge has full control of everybody involved in the pursuit. A lot of times we've seen other agencies don't necessarily have that rule, and there gets some weird communication. And we're getting a good look inside the window there. It looks like it's a trash bag maybe in the back.
In the back, and I'm trying to figure out what is in that front
envelope on the
passenger.
seat, maybe like a manila envelope there. Yeah, definitely some stuff in there. But yeah, Amy, so that was Redondo Beach PD. CHP is the only one in this, and that's what they do. If the other agencies want to take it, then CHP will get out of it altogether because they like to maintain tactical control of the situation and want everybody to be following their policies so this can kind of go the exact way they want it. And I'm trying to see what road we're on. I believe we're back out on Catalina. Heading, yes, southbound Catalina approaching Emerald. Sorry, I'm listening to the radio traffic, Amy.
No, that's okay. And as you know, following up on what you were saying, you know, the CHP training is definitely different than other departments. And so we understand why they are, well, looks like this van is starting to.
Oh, he's driving around a spike strip.
Oh.
CHP got a spike strip down there, and he saw it and went around it. And, you know, that's the good and bad news about him going so slow is he's got the time to make those decisions. He can see it and drive around it, which is exactly what he did. I got to say, that was pretty sneaky by CHP. I don't think I saw another cruiser down there. So they must have had somebody that was able to kind of run ahead a little bit and put that down.
Well, I was thinking that might have been why they had that intersection blocked. So they forced this van to go to the right and then get that spike strip down. But unfortunately, as you just mentioned, this van is going so slow that This driver was able to see the spike strip and, as you mentioned, drive right around it. But I have to tell you, I'm still surprised at how slow he's going, which again is a good thing. I'm not complaining about this. This is certainly beneficial, certainly makes it a safer pursuit for everyone that is out on the road this Friday afternoon. But they're going to certainly take their time and try to stop this safely. And perhaps they'll try another spike strip. But again, unless this driver picks up the pace, I think that he's going to be able to drive around any spike strip that they put out there.
Right, yeah, and I mean, unless they really lay out the whole road. And I can't tell, this might be a dead end, or we're pulling into a beach parking lot area here. So he's kind of, again, running out of options. Is he going to pull into the parking lot? Is he going to try to turn around? And this is always interesting to me, too. All right, driver's door's open, and we're running.
And he's running. There you go. He's running. And not getting far at all.
There we go. CHP finally taking him into custody here right along the beach. And that's what I was wondering, Amy. He kind of pulled into this beach parking lot area and really ran out of room. I think we're right at Veterans Park, right off Pearl Street in Esplande. So best case scenario here.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about the slow driving, and then we saw some slow running, I hate to say as well, but they were able to get this driver. Now they, of course, are searching that van, just making sure that there is no one else inside that van that could be hiding in the back. But I do think that this is one of those decisions where perhaps he ran out of real estate, as you've been saying, and just made a run for it, and officers were there able to get this person. You see they are setting him up, and they'll of course be searching this person for any type of weapon. You see someone just walking along the sidewalk. They're not really aware of what is going on, but we see them taking that person there over.
And they did officially give the code 4. They looked inside the vehicle and they gave the code 4 there. So this is wrapping up in the best possible way.
Absolutely, Mike. And you're watching it end here. They have that suspect in custody after a about 30-minute or so pursuit that has been taking us along the way. And of course, we will return you back to regular programming, and we'll see you back here on KCAL News at 4.
This is KCAL News, Los Angeles.
Welcome back. We know it's always been hard.